It's week 2 of the Memy Mondays hop, and I have a Christmas themed Memorydex for you today. Make sure to check out all of the other incredibly talented ladies who are linked in the description and hop through all the channels to look at all the inspiration for week 2. I am using the Echo Park A Gingerbread Christmas collection this week. I got really into Christmas in July crafting and I haven't stopped. I think I will take a break shortly to work on Halloween, but for now I'm loving all of the Christmassy vibes. So I am trying to choose a central piece, something that I definitely want to use and I can work around that. And I end up with this Baking Spirits Bright rolling pin, which is super sweet. And I have no idea where to go from here. So I decided to go with a ruffle because that is my tried and tested method. If stuck, put a ruffle down. I think it's something to do with I like a base for my cluster to sit on. So I'm actually using the piece on the front of the collection paper pad here. So the one that shows you little snippets of each of the papers inside. Don't forget to use that. It is a great way to add more bits and pieces to your collection. So if you're running low on papers, or even if you just want a small piece like this for a ruffle, it is a great way to use that front piece that shows you all the little previews of the papers. I pull out this green one and the one with a little teeny tiny gingerbread on it, turn that into a ruffle, stitch straight through the centre to hold it down. And then I'm still not inspired. I'm still not 100% sure what I want to do. I stitch underneath the Baking Spirits Bright because I like how that sort of highlights the quote. And I decide to try and add the piece with the little teeny tiny gingerbread people. So if I flip it the other way up, which I work out momentarily, there you go. You can see them peeking out of the bottom and peeking out of the top if I cut this in half. So I give that a go and attach it to the top and the bottom. So they're just peeking out. And it sort of stays like this. I keep the bottom piece. But I was really struggling with breaking up the background. I wanted something that would, I don't know, highlight the cluster, I guess. Which I do solve momentarily. I will show you that when I get there. But for now, I'm just adding some double-sided tape on the back to stick on those little gingerbread pieces. Little gingerbread papers. There we go. More double-sided tape. And then I'm trying to choose other elements that I want. So I pull out this little cupcake. I'm not sure if I like that or not. I pull out the mixing bowl, which I love. I'm gutted I didn't use this actually, but it was too high on the page. I wish I had thought of it before I stuck down the Baking Spirits Bright piece because I could have layered them, but I was working backwards. The way I decide to break up the background is with this really pretty gold glitter tulle. So I double that up, turn it into a ruffle, stitch through the centre, and then I actually stitch that onto the Memorydex so that it keeps the volume at the edges. Just testing out that I like it before I stitch it into place. It's all stitched and now I'm trying to work on that cluster again. I wish I'd kept it like this. I really like that bowl there, but for some reason I decide that I don't love it and I switch it out. So I switch it out for a cupcake, I believe. Yeah, see, I wish I'd left it like that because that looked fine. But I didn't like, in person or at the time, I didn't like how much the bowl sort of stuck over the edge, the spoon in the mixing bowl. But it looks cute nonetheless. So I go for this little cupcake, which balances the colours nicely, and add a bunch of foam tape to my different layers. So I add one foam square to the back of the cupcake and then I double it up for this little cookie so that it holds itself slightly higher than the cupcake, sorry. Tripping over my words. I want to add a bit of interest to this, I'm not sure how, so I decide to cut a wavy line at the bottom of that gingerbread piece to see if that adds a bit of extra interest. I think I'm jumping ahead of myself here. That's what happens when I know the ending. I start giving away spoilers. When do I decide that I want... There we go. So I sort of cut a wavy pattern. Looking at it on camera, I don't think it makes a huge difference, but in person, it made me much happier. So I went with it. Adding 2 layers of foam tape to this so that it will stand up at the same height as that cookie. Please excuse all the jangling. My dog is hanging out next to me and her collar jingles like a bell and she's jumping up and trying to get comfortable, so I apologise for the noise. Sticking that down with some hot glue because the tulle is making it difficult for things to stay where I've put them, so I'm adding foam tape and hot glue to each of the elements. These hearts have been in my stash forever, and lately I used them on, was it last week's Memorydex? It might have been. And now they're on my desk constantly and they're getting used up, which I love. So these are 𝓤𝓷𝓽𝓮 ones, gold puffy hearts, and I just add those sort of sprinkled down the side there, using some hot glue to keep those in place as well. I want to add something on that left side, so I go for this cookie puffy sticker, and then I use the little, is it a blue and white? I think it's a peppermint, I'm guessing, on that left hand side, layered with the other sticker, and these teeny tiny little snowflakes, I believe they were. They kind of take the place of enamel dots on this layout for me, and adding some hot glue underneath those as well to hold them in place. That tulle makes it quite difficult to stick things down actually. I decide a dangle will bring this whole thing together, so I'm adding a little miniature gold eyelet. Then I'm adding a jump ring, and the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to use a little lobster claw clasp on that jump ring, so that if you want to, you could take it apart and you could keep the Memorydex and the dangle and use them separately. So that's how I've got the eyelet and the little jump ring, and then this is the little lobster claw clasp that I'm going to use. I skip using chain and just make my own with the jump rings, so I add each bead with a jump ring and create the chain that way. I have a little pot of wire wrapped beads on my desk which you saw a few seconds ago, and I've just gone through that, picked out anything that I think matches, and then I've got this green bell and really pretty candy cane from my Christmas stash. I need to actually go through my whole Christmas stash and open it all up. I think I've got 4 boxes of all different craft stash for Christmas, and I've opened maybe, I think half. I don't think I've opened one of the boxes, it's just the bits that got left out from last year. They're the ones that I'm using, so I need to go through and use up all of the good stuff. Nearly finished putting this dangle together. And then really simple, just clipping that onto the jump ring. And it's good to go. I like how that completes the little Memorydex. Makes it look like it's got a little something extra that it needs. Then when I'm adding on these pieces, so these are just plain green card, just to make it sturdier, I add one with double-sided tape. And then the second one I actually use foam tape because I like how it makes the Memorydex look chunkier. So you can see here I'm just filling this one up with foam squares. I probably should have used the roll of foam actually. I used a heck of a lot of foam squares filling this one up. But I like how it looks in the end because it gives it sort of a raised, chunkier look, which I really enjoy. Here it is all finished. I think this little beady cluster dangle really adds the final touch that it needs. And this is on a little lobster claw clasp, so you could take that off and use it on a different project if you wanted to. I'm really enjoying using the traditional red and green colours for Christmas crafting this year. Let me know what colours you're using or if you use a mix of all of them. Join me again next Monday for another Memorydex and I will see you there. Thanks for watching. Bye!